This is your moment of life with Marcus Gill. Get ready to be encouraged, uplifted, inspired, and pushed into your place of unlimited greatness. Every day of your life is a day of victory.
Hey, Marcus Gill here. I'm so excited about the fact that you've decided to connect with me for part 3 of this amazing podcast series that I've put together just for you called Single Dating and Preparing for God's Best. Now listen, if you haven't heard the first 2 parts just yet, be sure to visit my website and the podcast page so that you can catch up on part 1 and part 2. And watch this, as you listen to part 3 today, it'll all come together and make sense. This is to encourage you. It's to help you. It's not to block you, but it's to stop you from making the wrong choices so that you can remain in the perfect position to make the right choice as it concerns your next level relationship. Hear me loud and clear. This is your tip for today. If you rush into marriage, you can rush into misery. All right? If you rush into marriage, you can rush into misery. Too oftentimes, there are people that are in marriages, they're in relationships, and they're miserable throughout the whole thing. Not because they're such a bad person or their mate is such a bad mate, but because we can be committed to something prematurely. There are certain things that we're just not ready for yet. God takes time in our waiting season to develop us. I always say, your blessing hasn't been denied. Your relationship or marriage has not been denied. It's just been delayed. Not because God wants to punish you or because God wants you to be lonely, be by yourself for the rest of your life. But delay is time for development. There's so many areas in our lives that we've got to develop in first before we can commit ourselves to another person. I tell folks everywhere I go, if you don't know who you are while you're single, you'll never find out who you are if you get into a relationship. And perhaps God is allowing you to be single just a little while longer so that he can develop you and prepare you. Yes, if you rush into this marriage or you rush even into engagement, you'll end up finding out, hey, I'm not ready for this. And it could be too late. You'll go down the aisle, jump the broom, commit your life to this individual. You'll rush into it and end up being miserable when God wants you to be happy. Marriage is supposed to be a magnificent experience. It's supposed to be an experience of bliss, joy, peace, excitement, memories that will last forever. You don't want to get married and be miserable and be out of your mind. If you end up like me, because I was in that situation at one point in time where I literally rushed into marriage because I felt like I just had to be married. I felt like I needed to be with somebody, so I didn't take my time. I even heard God telling me that the person that I was going to marry was not the one. But I felt like I was powerful enough and anointed enough to change somebody and even prepare myself. You know what I found out? I found out that misery was on the other side of that broom. You jump that broom and you could be jumping into hell. Oftentimes we talk about how Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into a fiery furnace, or even how Daniel was thrown into a lion's den. But guess what? There's not an enemy that always throws us into those places. Sometimes we throw ourselves into our own fiery furnaces. The enemy doesn't always place us in these horrible situations and circumstances in our lives. Oftentimes we do it to ourselves. And when you rush into marriage or you rush into a relationship just because he talks good or she speaks well or she looks good, he looks good, and y'all can potentially have something amazing, you could be rushing right into misery. I'm giving you this message because I've been through it. I know how it feels. This is a part of my testimony. I know what it is to get connected with somebody and feel like you've got to get into this relationship. You've got to make this commitment like right now. You got to do it like right now. You got to do it at this moment. You're trying to keep up with friends. You're trying to keep up with family. You're trying to keep up with popularity. And all the while, you're digging a hole for yourself. Do not do it. Take your time. Take as much time as you need. Go on dates. Have as many conversations as possible. Take them around your family. Let your family and your friends get a look at this individual, because if you rush into it, you can end up in the situation like I talked about in part 2. You'll end up falling in love with their costume. And oh boy, is that something when the costume finally comes off. When that mask finally comes off. But if you take your time, you'll get to realize, oh, this person is faking. If you take your time, you'll have an opportunity to recognize the things that you will appreciate and the things that you don't appreciate. I'm telling you, hear me loud and clear. I know what it feels like to be in a relationship where you feel stuck. and you are miserable, and you think that that misery is going to last for the rest of your life. But I speak over your life now. God is going to give you discernment. God is going to give you patience. God is going to give you the ability to enjoy your singleness and enjoy courting, enjoy the dating process. And you know what? As long as you're not married at any moment, you have a right to change your mind. That's the good thing about courting. That's the good thing about dating. You can date somebody for 5 years, but if you end up realizing that that person is not for you, you have a right to change your mind. Do it right, do it with integrity, but you have a right to say, you know what, this is not for me. Don't rush into making a decision to please others and please somebody else. You've got to make sure that you are happy, that you are satisfied, that God is meeting your needs with this person, because if not, I'm telling you, you're going to have a miserable season of your life. You're going to have a miserable lifelong relationship, and that's not God's will for you. God's will is for you to be with somebody that makes you happy, for you to be with somebody who brings you joy, for you to be with somebody who brings you peace, somebody to build relationship, build ministry, build your dreams with. Not somebody where you're crying every night, praying and asking God for a way of escape. Even though God does that, because you know what, I went through it too. But not everybody gets so blessed. Some people end up having to stay in that relationship for the rest of their life. Fortunately, God made ways, and they were some painful ways, but God did create a way of escape for me. And if you're in that situation right now, you got to pray and ask God to create a way of escape for you, because God didn't want you miserable. The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus said, I come that you would have life and have life more abundantly. That goes for your relationships as well. That goes for your romantic relationships, your dating, your courting, your engagement, your marriage. Jesus wants you to have life in this. And guess what? When the Lord gives you life, He gives you joy, He gives you peace about it, and you will not be miserable. But here's my point for you today. Take your time. Take your time. Take your time. Don't rush. If you rush into marriage, you can and you will rush into misery. Take your time and let God do His work. Let Him develop you. Let Him grow you. Let Him prepare you and prepare your future mate, so that when you all get together, you'll enjoy the relationship and it'll be God's best. God bless you. Thanks so much for listening.
This has been your Moment of Life with Marcus Gill. Thank you for your prayers and support. Go to 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓸 for more information and to find out how you too can become a partner of this ministry. You can also make plans to meet Marcus at an event in a city near you. Be sure to stay connected with Marcus Gill online through Facebook at Pastor Marcus Gill. You can also opt in to receive encouraging text messages from Marcus by texting MGILL to 71441 on your cell phone.